You know how much we love to talk to the people who create the things we love at Universal Orlando. Well, this week we have former Universal team member Glenn. I'm going to embarrass him by giving his full Sunday name, Glenn Michael Ferris, to talk about his time at the resort. This is episode 451 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. We are back, moving into another week of our next 10 years of podcasting. We never even talked about it last week, that was moving into the next decade of podcasting. And joining me is Tracy.
Hello everyone.
And Chris.
Hey, what's up?
And rounding us out is Michelle.
Hello, hello.
Hello everyone. As I said, we do have a very special guest. Again, like it was with Patrick, it comes under kind of sad circumstances, really. We did joke about it last week, as like all these people got laid off, and I was like, is it rude to ask them to come on the podcast now they don't work for them anymore? But I would like to, we did give him his full Sunday name at the beginning, but everyone knows him as Ferris, so welcome aboard, Ferris.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's a bit of a sad note, and I mean, I haven't been called my full, Glenn Michael Ferris in quite a while, so.
You've obviously been a good boy then.
We just need to get Ron on now, because we've had like 2 of the Brutiful game. There's one more we haven't had yet at this point.
Yeah, he's currently over in China. He's helping to get that park up and going.
Yes,
so you might have to send him something and see if you can get him on once it's open and they're a little less panicked at the moment. Yeah,
he's working with very good friends of ours, actually, who are out there as well.
I wonder who that is. I must admit, I was on Instagram the other day and he'd posted some beers, and I think I put, what a beautiful flight. I was very jealous. It looked really nice.
He knows how to take a picture.
Yes,
he does.
For those who have no clue what we're talking about, Ferris is not only part of the Laid Off Lads podcast, his new venture, but the Brutiful game that he does with good friend of ours, Blake Braswell and Ron. And for your sins, you are a Manchester United supporter.
I am.
Well, we're going to be happy about it.
Good win yesterday.
Yes, it was actually. It really was.
And I've been a fan for a very long time.
Okay.
And I'm not just one of those bandwagon Yankee fans. It started years ago. My aunt went over. She was doing a trip over in England. And the only thing she brought me back was a bright red United shirt.
Okay.
Well, at the same time, the owners of Manchester United actually, I can't remember if they own the Bucks first, the Tampa Bay Bucks, but I'm from that area.
Oh.
So I thought, well, I'm getting a shirt from them, and my owners of my favorite American football team is now the owners of what is going to be my favorite football team overseas. So there you go.
I mean, that makes logical sense.
Yeah, it does.
Was that the Glaziers then, Ferris?
Yes.
Yeah. See?
Which they still own them, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Anyway, we're not here to talk about football. And I'm glad you actually called it football, by the way, Ferris, because Blake always calls it soccer.
You're welcome.
We've basically got him on to talk about his 16 years and 88 days. I think you said you worked at Universal Orlando. That's a hell of a career.
Yeah.
I was there quite a while.
Well, first, can I guess to get some kind of origin story here, right? Can you tell everyone how you got involved in the theme parks and what led you to getting hired at Universal Orlando?
Sure. It was kind of, I come up here for school. So I graduated from the University of Central Florida. And at one part early on, a friend looked at me who had done Halloween Horror Nights, I want to say in 2002. And he goes, hey, you're tall. You can be scary. So I said, okay. He goes, just go. Like, the audition is super easy. You fill out your name, you fill out the forms, you go in. You're like, it's not a typecast, but it's 10 people in a room, and they may ask you to make your favorite scare or to say boo loudly and make some arm stuff. So I said, okay, cool. So I did that, and I got hired 2004. I think it was 2004. I was a scare actor in the year that we first did the cornfields. It was a go between USF and IOA.
Yep.
And I was super excited. I was super stoked. We had done an early walk of the area, and it looked beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Well, as it happens in Florida, we tend to get a lot of hurricanes. And that year, hurricane came through and pretty much decimated the cornfields that they had spent so much time putting up that they had to kind of fill it in with other such plants and whatnot to kind of make the cornfield effect. But nonetheless, it was an awesome year and a very cool scare zone.
Mm-hmm. We may have actually crossed paths that year.
I'm sure. I was the guy on the fence with my arms up on the fence with this big pumpkin.
I remember.
Oh my God.
Because that was our first ever Halloween Horror Nights that year. We were there opening night, 2004.
Really?
Okay, you are one of the few things I do actually remember about that year, because you scared me. Back when I could be scared. Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the following year, I did a Halloween again, and I did a what I guess is now it's not an icon, but it's an iconic role.
Yes.
The first year that the body collector's house was there, I was the guy tearing out the girl's spine in that room.
Which was my favorite scene from Body Collector's Recollections in 2015.
Great line item on a resume too.
Awesome.
100%.
Spine ripper.
It's so good.
Special skills.
Special skills. I can tear out spine.
And then let you go?
Wow.
Right? Exactly. In other news, I've been hired in from Advent Health to help spinal.
Just don't get hired by any chiropractors.
Exactly. I don't think they would like that.
To give people a concept of how tall Ferris is. So when we met Ferris for the first time last year, and I need to tell the story because it was hilarious. Tracy, Jade, and I were walking. We came into Islands of Adventure on the morning. We rode Spider-Man, and then we were going to go through to do the Raptor encounter. And we were walking through Toon Lagoon, and we did that weird double take of like, I recognize that man walking across there. But the funny thing was that man walking across there was doing the exact same thing to me. And I'm like, I know your face, but I can't place who you are. And then we both at exactly the same time went, Lee Ferris. I was like, oh my God. There is a picture, I will post it somewhere. I showed it to the girl I sit next to at work, and she said it looks like a dad and his two kids. That's how tall Ferris is.
I look very short in that picture.
You do. I thought that Ferris was up on like the curb and you guys were down on the streets, honestly.
No, I am 6'6", and that's probably why partly why I got hired into Universal to start, because that's scary. You know, when you see somebody that tall coming at you in a Halloween Horror Nights setting, that terrifies some folks.
Yeah.
Or sitting on a fence casually.
It's just scary.
The most simplest of scares too. Like I wasn't hidden. I was in plain sight, just on a fence like this.
Yep.
And just stood still until somebody walked by and boom.
I remember saying, is that real or isn't it? And you were real.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was literally, other than coming through Port of Evil that year, the Field of Screams was the first thing we actually did.
That was
It wasn't the scariest thing we did at Halloween Horror Nights that year. That was going and eating in Circus McGurkus.
Oh, that's true. And then there was also a pass between, because that was like the dual park year that they experimented with for a bit. That there was like was it a Rob Zombie land that went through a parking lot into the soundstage?
Yeah, it was like a hell something it was called.
Yes,
I remember lots of flames.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A lot of flames,
Yeah, of course. It's
one.
Universal and Horror Nights.
So Ferris, are you a huge Halloween Horror Nights fan as well?
Absolutely. I mean, that was what I started off doing there. That was what I had never really heard about it until I came up here and was just told to do it. And when I did it, I just fell in love with the smell of fog and the yells, the chainsaw sounds.
Yes.
Like I just absolutely just loved it. So I'm a big fan. And I mean, I'm sure we'll get there, but I actually ended my career working on the back end of that with some Halloween Horror Nights items that obviously we didn't do Halloween Horror Nights this past year, but in anticipation before we were told not to, I ended up helping out with some stuff, and we can get into that in a little bit.
Okay. Okay. So how is it working an event as a scare actor?
It's not so much a job as it is fun. It's changed. Times have changed because obviously that was 16 years ago that I did that.
That's crazy.
And we got away with a little bit more. Nothing bad, but you were more aware and people weren't as crazy as they are now. So you clocked in, you either, you went to the tent to get your costume, your makeup on, your mask, whatever it was, and then you usually had 6-7 sets a night, and you went there with the group, and it was 2 cast. You changed it out, but it was fun because once you're out there, you felt like you were getting paid to play.
Yeah,
because you got to scare people. I mean, that's you can go on YouTube or any place like that and just watch videos after videos of pranks where people are just scaring people from jumping out of things. Well, you got paid to do that. It was fun.
Oh, I'd volunteer for it if I could.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't say that. They might just bring you in.
Look, I'll be a captain on the boats during the day and a scare actor at night.
Michelle would have been the perfect victim for you, Ferris. She is the squealiest of squealy girls I think I've known in my entire life. I will bleep this out. I like to say that we went through Yeti was the first house Michelle and I did together at 2019. And the first thing, literally the first scare through the door, Michelle shouted in my ear.
I can't help it. I really can't help
I was
it.
like, oh, that's where this is going. Okay.
Now that is tame compared to some of the things that you hear as a scare actor, but people would shout out.
Okay.
You would hear all sorts
Really?
of things. Oh yeah, you would hear all sorts of things that would make you blush, make you laugh, make you turn your head and be like, "What the hell did they just say?"
Wow.
You hear all sorts of things that people say. Reactions. I mean, I've had people go to the bathroom on themselves.
I have heard that. Yes.
God.
I've you kind of see a number of things that how people react to the fright that you give to them.
So as a scare actor, when you have somebody like Lee and Tracy who walk through and don't even flinch
dead inside.
when you just gave them like your best scare, how does that make you feel?
You move on to the next, but
Okay. Good.
if
I do fake it sometimes.
Well, and we could tell if that was the case, but like for me,
am enjoying
I
it.
tried to time my scares, right?
Yeah.
So you could see a group coming, and even if you're in a house, you can see a group coming, and you can usually kind of eyeball it and tell the ones to get, the ones not to get.
Yeah.
And if you got somebody that didn't get scared, oh well. I mean, that's part of it, because not everybody reacts differently, so not everybody's going to have that real scared feel. So you get back in your hole, or you move around the corner and you wait, you come out again.
Yeah. I mean,
over and over again.
I want to be scared, and I've had a few close calls, and for me though, I'm too busy, I think, sometimes enjoying the sets and looking at the detail.
Being a Horror Nights nerd comes with a cost.
Yeah.
100%. That is one of the things that, for those that are guests, I wish you all got more of a chance to spend time in the houses and walk them with the lights on.
Yeah,
and
we did.
The lights off, because
Yeah.
the amount of work, the amount of detail, the amount of just effort that the art and design team, the scenic crew put into it is absolutely amazing. And there have been some beautiful houses over the years, just full with all sorts of just amazing put together rooms and these Easter eggs. And it's
Yeah, we did a behind the screams tour last year, and it was amazing.
Not last year, the year before, unfortunately. Yeah.
No, with
The last year
year
of
didn't exist.
HHN. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, we're huge Horror Nights fans. It's just, it's I love Universal Orlando beyond anything else, but Horror Nights is...
That's our time.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It's like
It's
Tracy's.
an awesome time.
Tracy's one of those people that she's like, I love Horror Nights, but she's like, I want to experience other times. We still never been for Christmas yet, so she's desperate to get out for that. But so it's difficult for me to try and talk her in. Can we, like every time we go out, it's like, can we not just go in October? Come on, we've got to go in September, October.
Go twice a year. It's fine.
I tell them just to go and stay for a month,
I mean,
and
I
then
would
they
love
can
to.
hit both. But
Well, when we
they won't
retire,
listen to
we
me.
will.
I've said just move there, but you know.
Okay.
I said I was saying that for years.
You have, and then when I decided let's have a look at it, you're like, oh no, I'm done with it now. You're too late.
She gave you your chance, Lee.
I know.
Now she wants to move to Korea.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly.
That's it.
See,
I'm
that's
going the
the
other way
problem.
now. Go to all the Asian parks. Yeah.
That's different by
Yes.
far.
Yes.
You think? Well, moving on from HHN, Ferris, you've also told us that after you worked Back to the Future and as a character performer at Shrek, you moved up as assistant stage manager for USF and IOA, Animated and Atmosphere, Terminator, Horror Makeup, City Walk, and Hogsmeade. That's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, you think?
Goodness gracious, I'm tired just saying it. What did that job entail? And, any funny or interesting stories you can tell us about that time?
It's so assistant stage manager is like the first line of salaried management within the venues. The entertainment ops venues are, depending on the size of them, are broken up into several different areas. So we have a lot of different ASMs and you could bounce around between all of them. So yeah, all of those areas I spent time in. And it mainly consisted of, at that time, putting out schedules for performers, for techs, for escorts, and then working the day-to-day ops with them, helping to either call shows, helping to provide them with the tools that they need to do their job. But you were essentially the acting manager on duty for any of those areas from an entertainment aspect.
Wow.
That's a lot.
So, just a question that's popped into my head. Think about it's obviously like you worked, like Terminator, Horror Makeup, stuff like that. Was there any difference for those to working in Hogsmeade, for example, knowing how strict Warner Brothers are over that property? Was it any different as far as how you had to approach doing stuff in Hogsmeade compared to elsewhere?
Absolutely. A lot changed when the Potters came to the parks. It kind of, when anytime you bring a intellectual property of that standard, it's one of the tops. You're talking, it's probably in the top echelon up there with Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's how big it is. It brings a certain kind of clout to the rest of the park, and everybody kind of ups their games. But how you treat the performers, how you lead them, how you lead the rest of the crew is not any different. You have different groups of folks there, because Hogsmeade, you have anything from dancers to actors to singers to your stage actors to street talent, to where over at Terminator you have stunt folks.
Yeah.
You have a lot of techs, and it's just different dynamics there. But how you treated them was all the same. But when you're talking Hogsmeade and Terminator, you had to abide by certain rules that the JK group said. Here's how you have to uphold the lore of these novels and what it is that we want to see.
Yeah.
So we had to ask permission for a lot of things that, changes, that if you wanted to make a change to a costume, if you wanted to make a change to the look of something, I couldn't just do that. My boss couldn't just do that. We had to send it up the ladder to get it approved. And sometimes it was a fight. Sometimes it was stuff to where it wasn't going to change. I mean, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But one of the things I think I could speak to was like the wand keeper attire. So when you go and you see a show in there, that is very heavy material for them to be wearing in what is an AC'd room, but with the doors opening and closing to the outside so much, it gets humid as hell in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can't change the look of that. We can't change the fabric of the big coat that they wear.
Wow.
Because then you change the fabric, it changes the look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had to kind of have workarounds that didn't change the look. So if you're wearing a shirt and then you put a jacket over it, well, what we can do is knock out the back side of the shirt and put a mesh or an Under Armour type, material to kind of have to make you feel a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
But you can't change the jacket.
That's interesting. He's got a a sweater vest underneath. The wizards wear sweaters, wearing a vest underneath. Do they have an Under Armour in the wizarding world? Apparently so.
There are various brands that we used that you don't see the symbols to, but whatever worked, whatever was comfortable, and whatever we can kind of hide.
Because you look at the street entertainment, the actors in Hogsmeade, they are phenomenal. Like, a lot of people don't particularly like it. I am a huge fan of it. I love the Frog Choir. And that's one of them things that obviously will have had to have got approval because it's kind of in the books, but not really. But I adore that thing. And the Hogwarts Express conductor, well, we're very partial to a very specific one. I'm sure we know. But yeah, it's getting to work with those people must have been awesome because they are the people in the park that, especially for kids coming into the wizarding world and getting to interact with someone like the Hogwarts Express conductor or the night bus conductor, from a kid's point of view, must be amazing. Like, just that moment of wonder when you actually believe that you're interacting with a wizard, someone from the wizarding world, and getting to work with those people must have been amazing.
Oh, it's such talented, awesome folks. I mean, still, I've known several people there, and despite being their boss, if you will, have gained so many lifelong friendships, and it's. You have such a respect not only for what it is that they do day in and day out for our guests and for each other, but you have a respect for who they are. You get to know them. You get to know their families. You get to know the type of people that they are, and they are all wonderful folks. I
would think the most fun people would be the horror makeup crew. They seem like such fun people, just not only on stage, but in real life.
Look, we've met Summer. We know exactly what Summer Aiello is like. Like, you can't not be in that family and know what those people are like.
Yes.
I mean, I think that character is probably how she is at home.
Probably.
None of them. Yes, they all have a script and they all have to act, but each one has their personality comes out in whatever role they're doing in that show for the day, and it's such a simple show, right?
Mm-hmm. It is.
No stunts, no pyro, no anything that's boom in your face, but it's there, and it has been there, and probably will be there for a very, very long time because it's just brilliant.
Yeah, and I've watched it so many times I probably know the script myself, but I still go and watch it, and it's still different every time just because of their personalities. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I think we saw it one time last year. I think it was Jason Blackwater was in it, and they had a huge joke between the two of them about that he was from England, this made-up place, and it was hilarious. Obviously, being British in the audience, it was hilarious, but it went on all the way through the show. It wasn't just like a one-punch joke. It carried on all the way through, and I love that the script is the script, but they're given enough leeway to go off it a little bit, and that makes a massive difference.
It does.
Yeah.
it almost turns into like a improv show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where you don't quite know what's going to happen, and jokes like that. If something happens in like the first show of the day, it will carry on throughout the entire day.
Oh, that's
And the
awesome.
cast will still bring it up. They'll still joke about it, and the different things that they come up with is just hysterical. It's all within, you know, good fun, and you know, sometimes the line gets pushed, but for the majority of times, it gets everybody just laughing because it's not what they expect, and it's kind of just on the fly.
Yeah.
So you just give me a challenge now. I need to come for a day at Universal Studios Florida and see every single horror makeup show that day,
Oh.
just to see how different they are, or any running jokes. So that would actually be a really good day, actually.
Oh, I would so do that.
It would be amazing.
I like that.
And
idea.
just ensure you do it on a day when it's like 95 out, so you're continually in an AC-ed, you know, room.
That's a perfect plan.
That's going to be done for sure.
Absolutely. This needs to be a
Love
weekender
it.
event. Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
The Weekender event, we will take up the whole audience for the whole
It'd be
day.
awesome. But how cool would that be? Yeah, I mean, you've worked, like they said there, you've worked Back to the Future's no longer there. Terminator 2 3D, sadly, is no longer there. It must be good for you to have a legacy working in classic attractions that people hold in.
Hang on. I've got a question. Sorry. They're not there. Ferris, what did you do to them?
Well, if I said that would
It's
go past my
incriminating.
confidentiality that I could. No, all of those. I mean, Back to the Future, man, that was such a fun ride. It was such a fun attraction to be in, and man, you'd see some crazy stuff happening there, but it was fun. I think the craziest thing I saw was I was working one day, and I think it was on the second level, and a lady comes off the ride and has like a panic look on her face. So I say, you know, have a good day, enjoy the parks, and I noticed her and I said, how are you doing? She goes, I'm okay, but she has her like arms up by her chest, and her shirt's kind of up, so her shirt's like in her arms, and she then pulls her shirt down from like the bottom. So if you took your bottom of your shirt and you pulled it up, and what she had done was she puked in her shirt.
Ew.
And I'm one of those people that if a lot of things I don't get disgusted by them, but if I smell puke,
Yeah.
it makes me want to puke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had I didn't know what to say. I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to puke everywhere.
Grab the bottom of your shirt.
So I was one that volunteered to go to the shop and get her a new shirt so that I didn't have to kind of deal with that.
Ugh.
It was...
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel
that's-
that though, because Simpsons is the only ride at the park that really gets me queasy too. But it's more an AC thing than anything else. It's hot in there.
Mhm.
So
And
that
that's-
combined with the motion sickness does not combine well.
And that is actually much smoother of a ride than what Back to the Future was, that just jerked you around. It was like that old 90s simulator that wasn't very smooth in how it moved. It just jerk.
Yeah.
So if you were any type of motion sickness, you felt.
I think we only ever did it once.
I think so.
And Tracy was less than impressed, so we never did it again.
Sorry.
Don't blame you.
Oh,
Don't blame you.
it's a good job Darren's not in here anymore.
Yeah, I was about to say there's like a tingling sensation in Darren's head. You can hear this.
But yeah, getting to work T2 3D, like T2 3D is still the gold standard as far as in theater 3D, sort of 4D, actor driven, like the whole shebang. It was phenomenal, and I don't think there ever has been anything that as good as that. I mean, I have not seen Born yet,
No.
which I have heard very good things about.
That's fantastic. It's phenomenal. It's definitely it raises the bar, and You can argue it's better than Terminator, but what Terminator did at the time was it broke into a new type of show, right? You had never seen that I can think of a motorcycle that comes on stage.
Yeah.
Then somebody on there fires a shotgun, like a real shotgun. It's not a fake shotgun. Now we put fake ammo in it, but it's a real shotgun, and it's inside. You're firing it inside.
Yeah.
It's not like the Indiana Jones show down the street that it's all outside in this like amphitheater type. So what Terminator did was it broke the ground for a live audience action 3D stunt show. And what Bourne does and has been doing is it is a 2020 type version of that show. It broke the ground in what it's doing, and it's new technology. It's new. It just progresses and keeps pushing it. And that's kind of how a lot of these rides and shows are going to go now, is it's just going to push it to, what's the newest thing out there? What's the newest technology that we can make somebody feel so immersed in the show, and let's put it out there.
I think you said it best, where it's like the next evolution of of the show, where it's hard to compare the two, right? Because they're two completely different shows in a sense.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, it's nice seeing, Universal still pushing that boundary, trying out new things and bringing something that, for the most part, I've never seen before, and I think a lot of people have never seen before. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
well, it's crazy to walk into a show, a theater, and you sit down and it's like a blank stage. It's a completely blank stage. There's nothing around you, no sets, no nothing, which is odd for a theme park, right? And then a curtain opens and you're like, what the fudge? like seriously, it's the strangest feeling ever. It's amazing what they've done.
We haven't seen it, but watching the behind the scenes, that how they get those moving set pieces to interact and line up with what's going on the screen is mind blowing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's all this just automated technology, and I was very impressed, because obviously working in that building that I already thought was so fascinating, on how the rappel points were, on how the stage worked with the tracks and the bike coming out and the center console, and how they transformed it into what it is now, where they really didn't gut the entire thing. They gutted parts of it and changed the catwalk and some access points on how some performers interact from that side of things. But it's crazy to think that somebody sat in a room, or thought at their home, here's what we can do with this show. Let's take a Harley Davidson, let's like chop it around a bit, put it onto a apparatus that then goes around on a track, and then let's take some real shotguns, let's cut off the barrels, let's put some fake ammo in it and fire it about 10 feet from somebody, and then the other person pretends to die.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Sounds good.
And then let's put this all into a very well-known movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's insane that somebody's thought of how these shows work out,
But with Bourne, what really got me is they're like, all right, let's hire 2 actors and let's put a bunch of people on the screen behind them to make it seem like we've hired 20 actors.
Yeah.
And we're going to make them believe that there's really 20 people on that stage. And honest to God, every time I'm having to really try to pick out who's a real actor and who's not. It's crazy.
That first sneak peek that ever came out, we watched it about 3 times, and it was the 3rd time where I went, oh, those people behind them aren't actually there, are they?
Yeah. It's brilliant. It's brilliant how they've thought of this.
That screen is mega expensive, by the way.
Oh,
I can
imagine
how much that cost. I don't know the actual cost, but there are things that we had heard that is a 1 in a million type screen. It's crazy.
I bet.
Wow.
Yes. Cool. Right. We are going to take a quick ad break to hear from our sponsors who pay the bills, and then we'll be back to continue talking about Ferris's career at Universal Orlando and probably go off even more topics. More tangents. That's the word I was looking for. Tangents.
Have you taken a stroll down Diagon Alley and visited Gringotts Bank? Taken a ride through New York with Jimmy Fallon? Visited the Truffula Trees in Seuss Landing or hung out with a real-life Transformer? No? Then what are you waiting for? At Universal Orlando Resort, there truly is an option for everyone. Or if you're leaning a little more towards pixie dust rather than wands and potions, Disney destinations around the globe await your arrival. No matter the adventure, our sponsors have you covered. Be sure to let the experts at Mouse and Muggle Travel Company take care of all your travel needs, earning the distinction of being an earmarked agency specializing in Disney destinations, as well as becoming one of the first to be named a You Preferred agency with Universal Parks and Resorts Vacations. Mouse and Muggle Travel Company will ensure you receive top-rated customer service. Just visit mouseandmuggle.com to fill out a no-obligation quote request, or send your request to info@mouseandmuggle.com. Their team can take care of you no matter where in the world you want to go. With a flick of their wand and a little bit of pixie dust, the process will be so seamless, some might even say it's simply magical.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here with our good friend Ferris talking about his 16 years and 88 days. He's very specific about those 88 days at Universal Orlando, and we're going to continue on.
Yeah. Right. Yes. So, you then opened Despicable Me, Transformers, and Diagon Alley as a stage manager. So, how was it opening new attractions at the parks, and what did you work on specifically?
It's always exciting when something new, if you get like a new pair of shoes or, you get something new, you have that like excitement feel. Like times that by, 10, 100 times when you're opening up these massive, especially intellectual property type areas. And it is a gratifying feel. It's you feel like you're a part of it and it's a part of you. But it's hard work to open those things, but it's very rewarding because you get to see it basically. Like for when I opened up Diagon, I got to see it in sand, dirt, 2x4s, ladder, and then you see what it is today, which is this beautiful land. Yeah. And for me specifically, I worked with the entertainment department to bring the talent to help bring those lands to life. So I was over, for instance, the Minions and the Dancers when we opened up that attraction. For Transformers, we had done the stilt workshops and worked with opening up the hangar for the various or the three main Transformer characters that we have.
Ferris, I have a huge question I need to ask you about those. It is a bone of contention on the show and has been for quite some time, and you are just the man to ask.
Cool.
So those Transformers meet and greet characters, have you seen the ones in Hollywood, Ferris?
Yes, I have.
Where they are interactive characters, shall we say?
Yes.
Why did we never get those in Orlando?
Well, we've had them at points. So, but not necessarily available to everyday guests. So we did it for various TV shoots, for commercials. The audio transmitters that are in the packs for each of them don't have the capability to essentially go live with audio.
Okay.
So can we do it, and have we done it in Orlando? Yes. But there's a lot behind it in terms of changing out all the packs audio-wise to have then an actor sitting in a room with a bunch of cameras seeing what, who comes up to interact with them, what the performer does, and it's just a big change out that had been discussed for a while, and if we want to do it on a full-time basis there, but it was nothing that ever came into fruition. It even took a while for us just to get the automated responses that they all have now when they hit the button of, all of their 10 sayings that they have.
Yeah.
Took a while for us just to get that. So
It's such
that
a
all
shame.
has to be approved too. That has to be approved through the IP, and I think the IP had a play to do with it when we were opening up that as well. So
because like you look how popular Donkey's photo finishes, which is effectively the same thing. Like, how would you not want like the Megatron character in Hollywood is phenomenal. I mean, there's viral videos of like the kid taking the Optimus Prime's head up to him and just getting praised by Megatron. It's like, I just want to see that in Orlando so much.
So Universal Orlando is like the home base, right?
Yeah.
And then Hollywood and the other areas are the, brothers, sisters of it. I'll try to say this in the most like PG professional way that I can. How many times do your parents say, don't do this?
Right.
But the brothers and sisters end up doing it anyway.
Right.
So
That's a really good code right there.
yeah, that's kind of Universal Orlando has the eye on it a lot for being the home base and things we can and can't do, and have to run up the chain and make sure IPs are in the loop of other parks and resorts might be able to get away with a little bit more.
And it shows you how big Universal Orlando is when you consider that Hollywood was the original park. And that Universal Orlando is now, it is the parent, if we're going to use that analogy, which it deserves to be. It is phenomenal. But yeah, you go back to talk about opening the stuff at in Diagon Alley, obviously specifically. I can't imagine opening day for that land must have been just amazing. I think we had Gregory, who was part of our team back then. I think he queued for 6.5 hours to get on Gringotts opening day, and it broke down 10 minutes before the park closed, and he didn't get on it. And then he went back for another 3 hours the next day. But entertainment-wise, again, you've got like the Tale of the Three Brothers, the Fountain of Fair Fortune, Celestina Warbeck, things that have been brought to life that you've only kind of seen in the movies, and like Celestina Warbeck, not at all. That's got to be awesome to work with stuff like that.
That is something that I get chills from you just saying those things, because I spent, 2014 through 2017, 18. I opened the land. I was there for years with the entertainment group, and it just such. I consider that home. It's what we were able to bring to life through such storytelling and such amazingly talented folks, from the Night Bus to the Wand Keepers to the Goblin and the Exchange.
Yeah.
It was incredible, and so many good memories, so many good friendships I've gained, so many good moments. It is the most gratifying and most rewarding part of my life that I've had at the parks, and in the 16 years, that would be the highlight of what I would consider my career there.
Wow. I mean,
it does sound amazing, and you have a very impressive resume that makes me and a lot of people, I think, a little jealous. So you graduated from UCF. What is your degree in? Like, how did you get all of these amazing opportunities?
Nothing related to entertainment and hospitality.
Wow.
It was a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice.
wow. Okay.
What?
Never, haven't used it, haven't done a thing with it. So what started off was as a summer, not as a summer job, but as a seasonal job, doing Halloween Horror Nights, and then kind of just needing a job and working attractions, and then being recruited kind of into the entertainment department, turned into a full-time job that just allowed for opportunities for
That's
me
amazing.
to kind of advance and grow. Because I got out of school in December 07, and if you all remember, 2008 was the market crash. The economy was terrible, and no place was hiring, and it was a lot of payoffs and that sort of thing. But I was able to kind of move up throughout Universal during that time.
Yeah.
And just kind of turned it into a bit of a career.
Just moved up the ladder. That's awesome. Yeah. So after you were the stage manager, you were then assistant manager, right? For the Superstar Parade, USF Animated and Atmosphere, and Fear Factor Live. Tell us a little bit about those roles.
All big areas.
Yeah.
Very.
It is the largest contingent of hourly employees between the USF Animated and Superstar Parade venues. They're massive. They are the biggest. But in that particular role, I oversaw those venues and the salaried managers that were in it. So all of the stage managers, assistant stage managers, coordinators, and so on, essentially reported to me.
Awesome.
And Fear Factor is a very underrated show, and who knows if we'll ever see it again. But my word, does that cast and crew, are they some of the most talented, hardworking folks that I've ever met? Because if you think about it in a way that you go to the parks to have fun, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We then take you out of the parks, if you want to, and run through some safety spiels, put some equipment on you, hang you from 3 stories, where you're going to have to drop. There's no other way to come down. even if you win, you have to let go.
Okay.
Then tell you to get into a car. We're then going to lift the car up 2 stories. You then have to get out of the car and get back in the car from 2 stories in the air. We're also going to swing you back and forth while you throw octopi into a bin.
Oh.
Okay.
Which is insane because you're entirely safe the entire time. And you're an everyday park guest. You're not a stunt performer.
No.
Right.
To be able to do that, there is no other show like it in the world.
And interesting that it's obviously it's not at the moment, but it has been going on for quite a while. When you live in a sort of, I can't know what the word I'm gonna, a very safety conscious where guests aren't allowed to do anything anymore. Litigation happy society as well, and yet you've still been able to keep that open as long as it is. And I am really sad to say I've never seen it.
What?
We have never been to Fear Factor Live.
Has it ever been open when we've been there?
I mean, Tracy, I'm going to go along with that.
Oh,
I'm going to use that as an
true.
excuse and say it's never been open. But we have been at a time when Halloween Horror Nights hasn't been going on, and it may well have been open. But it's quite a possibility that it hasn't been open.
No, I don't think it has. I would have been.
It's entertaining.
No, I would have been in there.
It is. Chris and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we loved the show when it was in its prime. We adored it, but
if that was open, we'd have been in there.
Probably.
I'm kind of bummed that it may or may not open again because, like I've always said, like I'd want to audition to do that. You know, the stunt stuff. Not so much the eating because that's I'd rather just get thrown off of the building than eat. You know, weird things. But I'm to if it opened up again to have that opportunity to go on there, I'd wait in line. It's just such a cool looking experience, and from this side, from an audience member, it looks cool. I can only imagine what it's like to actually be an audience member now that's on this show doing these stunts. Just seems amazing.
It's people's best experiences. They love it. They absolutely, those that do it, love it.
Oh man,
Ferris, you know some people. We can get a private show for Chris, can't we?
Private show.
If it opens back up at any point, I do know some of the crew there, and as long as you meet the guidelines in which are set forth, there are various, because obviously it can't just be anybody. It has to be a certain height, has to be a certain weight due to the equipment that's being used. You can't be allergic to shellfish, this, that, and the other. And as long as you meet all of those things, I'm sure.
If I have to jump on keto, I'll jump on keto. I don't care.
Probably have to sign a 20-page waiver and give away your first child. And
That's
And you do
Hey,
have
giving
to
away
sign
children.
some stuff.
I'm all for that.
I'm sure, yes. I mean, that's a weird thing again, like you say. When do you ever go into a theme park and have to sign a waiver to do something?
You can't have your lanyard outside of your T-shirt on a roller coaster, but we'll drop you off.
Right?
Correct. And I tell you what, that was the best going away party that I had from that venue was they had played a trick on me. It's all in like good fun, but this just tells you the kind of the crew that is there. I was resetting the flags. So on the wall, there are Velcroed flags that contestants have to get. Well, at the end of the show, those flags have to be put back up, which means a tech or somebody has to get into a harness and put the flags up.
Nice.
So they had told me that on everybody's last day, they have to put the flags up. So I've done that before. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'll get up there and I'll do it. So I'm putting on the harness, and as I'm doing that, one of the techs is like patting me down. I'm like, why is he patting me down? That's weird. Like, I don't have my phone in there. I don't take my phone up there. I don't, I'm not taking anything that could fall out of my pockets while I'm rappelling up this wall. Well, about halfway up, I hear a pop. They're throwing water balloons at me as I'm trying to put the flags back up and shooting the water cannons at me.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
So it was a very unique way to say bye to someone, but I always told everybody that that's not, it seems mean, but if that crew is doing that to you, there is a lot of respect and love up there.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
For you.
Absolutely. Now, I have two quick questions on that, right? So one, did you ever go through the whole course yourself? And two, okay, then
no,
go
ahead.
Oh, the second one was just similar to like Men in Black, where the operators for that ride will go ride it and try to get the highest score, and they do each other. Do the techs do that to see if you can run through the course the fastest, or who's like the best at running through the course?
To the first question, I have not been through the entire thing because I myself do not fit all of the requirements.
6'6", yes, I'm sure.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Because I'm a bit tall. There are certain things that I can do, and the harness will allow for, and so on and so forth. So those I did. I have been up in the car. I have gotten out of the car. I've done those type of things. But in terms of the other stuff, I don't match the height requirements for that. So even myself, I couldn't do that.
Okay.
I did not see anybody racing each other or doing that. Not to say that it hasn't been done in the several years that it was open, but it's one of those things where when you're there 40 hours a week, the last thing you want to do is then play in the area where you work for 40 hours of the week. It's
That's true.
Yeah. You have to reset everything for yourself.
correct.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. Moving on, you got to open actually one of my favourite attractions at the park, and it's one of them. I think it's quite underrated because a lot of people don't particularly like it, and the entertainment is a huge part of it, and that is Race Through New York starring Jimmy Fallon. I am Chris, a huge fan of the ragtime gals in that. And hashtag the panda.
Yes.
Well, I mean, Tracy's got another suitor when we go back.
Oh yes, we're getting married.
Yep.
Getting to open that attraction must have been awesome. Because it is it's a bog standard simulator attraction, but we've talked about it a lot on the show. It is very much the sum of its parts, but the parts themselves are awesome.
It's an experience. It was not like anything else that I've had the chance to open up. It was just this massive experience that you're opening up a ride, but it's not really a ride. It's more of a building that has a ride in it, but has, as you said, the all these parts. And what, in my eyes, when we were opening that, it was the entertainment helps bring that building to life.
Yeah.
It helps enhance it in a way that is so true to the 8-night show and just some iconic things from those shows that but it brings it to life in a way that is fun. It's funny. It adds to it in a smile and laugh way to then get you that way to then experience the ride itself.
Yeah.
And it was crazy to open. One of my memories from there that and I'm pretty sure I can say this because it was on the show and the news and whatnot, but during the opening week or whatnot, when Jimmy Fallon and his crew were there, they did a skit that aired with him and The Rock.
Oh,
and
yes.
They were essentially inside the animated characters of themselves.
Yes, I remember it.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, so I didn't get to see the bit or wasn't fully a part of the bit, but I was in the building when they had done the walk, which I think was from the Universal store to the building. And a very surreal moment for me was they had come in, were laughing. You could hear them inside of their inside of their costumes of themselves. But then each of them took off a head, which was their animated head, to show their own head. It was like, wait, what am I seeing? Very surreal, where you're just like, wait, this is my job. The Rock in an animated costume of The Rock.
Yeah.
Revealing The Rock.
Yeah.
Didn't they have
bizarre.
Didn't they have to go through and get as many high fives off guests as they could, if I remember rightly?
Yeah.
That was right. Yeah, that is so awesome. Like, so going off that, actually, how many famous celebrity people did you get to meet while you were working at the parks then, Ferris?
Quite a bit. Quite a bit. I can't sit here and say all of them. We have a very
Of course,
high celebrity thing, but a lot of big name actors, athletes. A lot of the stuff now you can kind of talk about because you've either seen it on their socials, our socials, and it's not a secret like it has been sometimes.
Yeah.
The Rock by far was one of the people that I met that is fantastic. One of the most just genuine, polite folks you will ever meet.
That's nice to hear.
Like Jimmy Fallon seems like a fun guy to be around as well.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love Jimmy
Said
Fallon.
hi to everyone. Like, just what he is on the show is what he is in real life. It's just him.
Yeah.
He's just yeah. I mean, there's so many of those. There wasn't really anybody that I had met in that realm that was a complete a-hole or anything.
Yeah, that's good.
Did we get those, and are there stories of that? Yeah,
Of course.
But I probably wasn't the one that dealt with them. Or what I primarily did, being in entertainment ops, was set up shows, set up meet and greets for the celebrity coming through.
Right.
Okay.
So one of the things that was also surreal, and I think I can say this, was setting up a wand experience for I think he's a Sir Paul McCartney.
Oh,
Is he a Sir?
yes, he is. Wow.
Yeah, that was kind of
Wow.
crazy to do, but I think that came out on social media exhibit.
Well, if you find it hasn't, just give me a shout. I'll edit it out. It's fine.
But no, you kind of meet all of these, but I was never a big celebrity person that, I had to meet them or shake their hand or take a picture with them or anything like that. So there wasn't really anybody that completely blew me away that I wanted to think about risking my job for at the time to try to get an autograph or anything like that.
Now, on the flip side,
Just like Lee and Tracy when you saw them in the
No, I
park.
was gonna say-
Autograph session, selfies. Yeah, it was.
that's what it is. On the flip side, The Rock was like, "Oh my god, I met Ferris at Universal last week. It was amazing. I couldn't believe it."
100%. Yeah. The only thing that I have on him is I'm taller.
Whoa! I didn't think that was possible.
He
That's
is
a claim to fame right there, if you ask me.
exactly. But such a nice guy. He the one that I set up a meet and greet with him and his kids, and he came around to everybody that helped set that up and just shook our hands and looked us in the eyes and said thank you to every single person in line.
That's so nice.
And that was something that I thought was very cool from him.
Yeah.
That he did.
Now, you ended your time at Universal Orlando as a manager for costuming and makeup for marquee events. That must have been awesome to work on. Could you tell us about it? Some of the most underrated folks at Universal are in the costuming and makeup fields. Not only some of the most underrated, but some of the most talented folks. I mean, what they provide and really help bring to life, you know, you don't have a wand keeper without the wardrobe and the clothes that associate that, you know. Somebody has to make that. Somebody has to keep those in order. Somebody has to put that together. You don't have the various icons of Halloween Horror Nights like Jack and Chance and all of these others without somebody applying the prosthetics and makeup looks. And to get a chance, although it was a short period of time, about 5 months, man, I have so much. I always did, but you don't realize it until you see how those things are brought to life. And my time was cut short, and I wish that I would have gotten to spend a lot more time with that group and helping to bring everything to life even more, especially something that I started off doing, which was Halloween, and bringing that to life. And thankfully, we didn't do full Halloween and everything that we were working on at that time. We had a lot of the houses done. Hadn't really touched the streets too much. We're still going through various approvals for the IP looks and so on and so forth. But I at least got to help bring the 2 houses that opened up during the pandemic time, if you will. Got to bring those to life, the Tooth Fairy and Bride House.
Yeah, I had to think for a second.
So that was fantastic to see the work that is put into that and making masks and
because you think like when it comes to makeup and costuming, Horror Night is that it's 90% that, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
They really put a lot of attention to detail on everything. I mean, even obviously Halloween Horror Nights is the largest event, right? And costuming there is phenomenal. But even I really enjoy Mardi Gras, and, you know, seeing all those, you know, the walkers and everybody, those costumes are actually pretty detailed, and there's a lot of cool little pieces on them that matches the float that they would go down. You know, it's a lot of, you can tell there's a lot of work that's put into this.
Hours and hours and hours of work planning concept art. It's a lot more than, you know, if you think about a Broadway show or a show that you can see at your local theater. You know, they're showing that show for what? 3 days, a week, a month.
Yeah.
Well, we're putting those things out every single day for 2 month time, 3 month time. So a lot of work has to be put in to keep the costumes and everything looking as great as they do from that side of it. You have to clean the costumes, sanitize it, even more so now with everything that's going on in the world.
Oh, that's true.
So there was various things when we were opening up the houses back in September and October was, well, performers would get a chance to, you know, you would have for a particular character, you would have 2 or 3 masks for, you know, 2 people that were doing back-to-back roles. And that was the norm for years. Well, then 2020 comes along. That's a big sanitary issue.
Yeah.
While the masks were cleaned every night and were sanitized, that's not going to fly now.
No.
Everybody gets their own masks.
Wow.
And so think about the production of that, where you have a 10 character house, for instance, and you have to make 20 masks.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
Now you have to times that by 4 because everybody has to have their own.
Yeah.
I wonder
So
if that's going to
backups
be
have to
true
have their own.
for this upcoming event.
I don't know. I would assume so. I don't.
Gosh,
I mean,
that would be a
well,
lot of work for a full event.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest.
It was a lot.
You look at Halloween
was a
Horror
lot.
Nights anyway, it's crazy. We've already talked about how much attention to detail goes into those houses, how much attention to detail goes into the masks, the costumes, and that's for 2 months, and then it all gets pulled down. It's crazy.
Yep.
It's absolutely mental to think that they build these things for 9 months, people get to go through them for 2, and then you never get to see it again.
yeah. Or you do.
Bits of it.
It just gets
Yes.
Yes.
used again.
Yes.
So many of the set pieces, so many of not necessarily the mask, but the molds that help make some of those masks
Yeah.
can get turned into something else. It's incredible on what I saw some of the artists do with one style of mask. They can make it look like 10 styles
Wow.
just from the paint jobs that they have on these masks. Completely different.
Okay, that's cool.
So you can reuse things a lot, but you're right. The level of, for the most part, the majority of that stuff gets trashed.
Which is, it's
crazy.
It's sad is what it is. It's just not fair.
It's temporary art, isn't
It
it?
really is. I don't think it's
That's
appreciated.
also what makes it special too.
Yeah.
It really
Right.
is,
Yeah.
because if you didn't get to go that year,
It's bittersweet.
it's like the American Werewolf in London was disappointing a little bit for me because it was very timed scares. But when it was announced for 23, I was like, you are kidding me that it's my favorite horror movie of all time. And then when they announced it for 25, I was just like, I can't believe that I'm going to actually get to see it.
Yeah.
And then it kind of let me down in the end, but yeah,
It was mistimed.
it was. But
Yeah.
it just,
I think Yeti made up for it.
it really did. Just a phenomenal event. It's like, if you want to hold Universal to anything, it's Halloween Horror Nights. It's phenomenal. And you look at your career there, Ferris, that I think it's pretty cool, actually, that you did a full circle, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like one of the things I always notice about, a lot of the people we've interviewed before, it's that Universal's really good at hiring within and kind of bringing
Yes.
their people up.
Yeah, I was going to say that earlier.
How many
Yeah.
people have we interviewed or talked to that started off as a scare actor,
Yeah.
a boat, driver, all these, a captain, and work their way up the ladder. I mean, if you have the actual will, then you can work your way up in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just hope a COVID pandemic doesn't come along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a shame.
Changes things a little bit.
But it's true. It's as a company, Universal do seem to. There is those opportunities for you to move up the ladder. I think we've said it a million times before. Mike Aiello is the prime example. It started off as working Halloween Horror Nights, moved up to a Jaws skipper, and now look, he's like the king of everything.
He's the top of the top.
He is. Ferris, it has been an absolute blast to talk to you. I'm so glad we could get you on.
Really has.
It's sad under the circumstances, but it's
Yeah.
been awesome. And look, for someone who laments the fact that a lot of attractions that are team member led, that are actor led, have gone, the fact that Universal is still actively bringing those characters and those performers into the parks, and that you have been a part of that for 16 years is something I think should definitely not be forgotten, and you should be held up in quite high esteem for bringing that to the fore at Universal Orlando for the time you were there, and I thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So we are going to wrap up the show, and of course, as we do with all our guests, because first you have other things going on. They have been mentioned already, but you have a couple of podcasts, so please feel free to tell people where they can find them.
Yeah, have a not as big as your guys' podcast, but some specific type. Been doing the Beautiful Game, which is a craft beer and football, or as Blake likes to say, soccer podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Where we cover the Premier League and various other leagues. You can find that on any of your podcasting platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify.
Yeah,
so
wherever
so
we
forth.
are.
And then Laid Off Lads was something that me and obviously two other laid off folks from Universal, Chris Boyce, which is there 25 years.
Wow.
Thereabouts. Got a chance to do a lot. And Phil and Gary was there about 7 or 8 years. We all got laid off about the same time. Actually, Phil and I the exact same day. We started a Laid Off Lads where it's progressing, but we talk various topics, news and current news and that sort of thing. And again, you can find that on Apple, Google, Spotify,
Everywhere.
YouTube.
Everywhere.
Yep.
Cool. Brilliant. Well, Ferris, again, it's been an absolute blast to have you on. I want to sit down at some point with you and we have a segment, I think I've mentioned it to you before, called The Rides That Made Me. I like to get former Universal people and talk about the 3 attractions that have had the biggest influence on them. I definitely want to sit down and do one of them with you.
That'd be cool.
At some
That'd be
point.
awesome,
Yeah.
But we are going to wrap up this episode, as we always do, with the Universal Is, and I have asked Ferris to provide this one for us because we like to invite our guests to be part of it. But of course, as a listener, if you want to get involved, all you got to do is drop us an email to podcast@uuopodcast.com or send it via Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Carrier pigeon, just for Tracy, because she likes to say that every week.
I haven't said it in years.
I think Michelle last week said, just anywhere you can, smoke signals, whatever it is, get them to us, letting us know what you think Universal is in 3 words or less, and I will pass it over to Ferris to give us what he thinks Universal is.
Fun family entertainment.
See you next week, everyone.
Guess that wraps things up for another Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. You guys did all right. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Pinterest, keyword UUO Podcast. Listen and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or anywhere podcasts are found. You can find our blog at uuopodcast.com. Send us your spews, which Lou gets your poo recordings, questions, or comments to podcast@uuopodcast.com. Check out our friends, the Theme Park Duo, and our awesome sponsors, Mouse and Muggle Travel Company. So, until next time, don't give up your day job. Say cheese. See you later.